In Matthew chapter 4, we get a glimpse of Jesus calling his first disciples. After a long, hard night of work, a group of unschooled fishermen have caught nothing. And as they're packing away their nets, a strange man approaches them and says, "Put out into deep water and let down your nets for a catch." After some resistance, these unschooled fishermen decide to do what the man says. And what happens next is something they will never forget. Their nets, which had been empty all night long, were suddenly teeming with so many fish that they began to break under the weight of them. Upon returning to shore, these unschooled fishermen fall to their knees in awe of the stranger who had approached them. "Go away from me, Lord," they say. "We are sinful men." But this stranger reaches down and, lifting up the heads of these unschooled fishermen, simply says, "Come, follow me." It's true. We worship a God who is in the business of calling people. Our God has been calling people since the beginning of time. God called Abraham to build a family. God called Noah to build an ark. He called Jacob to build a well, Nehemiah to build a wall, and Jesus to build a way. God called David into the valley, and he called Moses onto the mountain. God called the fishermen who'd been left out. He called the apostles to go out, and he called Martha to chill out. God called Esther to speak up, Job to shut up, Ruth to stick around, and Gideon to stick it to him. God called Joshua to take a walk, Jonah to give a talk, and Peter to be the rock. He called Solomon to be wise, Lazarus to rise, and Paul to press on towards the prize. God called Elijah in a whisper. He called Elisha to dig ditches. He called Mary by her name, and he called Simon and Saul by brand new ones. God called the Israelites out into the wilderness. He called the Samaritan woman at the well. He called Peter onto the water and the water into wine. God called Daniel to be the best. He called his disciples to love the worst. He called the prophets to go out, and he called the church to invite in. You see, there is literally no major character in the biblical narrative who was not first called by God to something greater than themselves, and we worship a God who is still in the business of calling people today. Yeah, it's true. We worship a God who is in the business of calling people. The only question is, are we in the business of answering?